I never stay in one place for too long, it gets boring. The thrill of moving on, seeing new landscapes, meeting different people, and experiencing fresh cultures, is what keeps life exciting for me. Traveling is my way of staying connected to the world, always shifting, always searching. It's a good life, most of the time. Whenever I need money, I find work of picking fruit. In the United States, seasonal fruit picking jobs are available almost year-round. You just need to know which states have harvests at the right time. It's not easy work, the long hours, the sun beating down, the constant bending and lifting, but the pay isn't bad. And besides, there's something satisfying about working outdoors, surrounded by the changing seasons. When winter approaches, I prefer heading south, where the days are warmer and life feels a little easier under the sun. The northern states can be bitterly cold, and I've never been one to enjoy freezing temperatures. Last year, in 1989, I spent October in New York. For 3 weeks, I picked up a short-term job at a hotel, working odd shifts and saving up just enough to plan my next move. When the air turned crisp and the leaves started falling, I knew it was time to head south again. I always travel by train whenever possible. I love trains. There's something freeing about them. Unlike buses or cars, trains give you space to walk around, stretch your legs, and meet new people. Watching the scenery shift from bustling cities to quiet countryside is one of my favorite things. I left New York and made my way to Philadelphia, where I managed to get a cheap ticket for the slow train heading to Atlanta. This route winds through the eastern states, taking a long time, almost a day and a half, but that didn't bother me. There was no rush. The journey itself was part of the adventure. On Thursday morning, at exactly 9 o'clock, the train pulled out of the station in Philadelphia. At first, there weren't many passengers on board. I settled into my seat, watching the buildings disappear behind us as we moved southward. At Washington, D.C., the train stopped, and more people got on. 2 young women strolled down the corridor past my carriage, glancing in through the door. They hesitated for a moment, but didn't come in. A little later, an older woman shuffled inside, found a seat near me, and promptly dozed off. The 2 women walked by again, stealing another glance inside. I wondered if they were looking for a particular seat, or just deciding where to sit. As the train pulled out of Washington, I leaned against the window, watching the city fade into the distance, the towering monuments and historic streets giving way to the open countryside. The journey was long, but I didn't mind. I was used to the rhythm of moving on, the endless cycle of departure and arrival, always looking ahead to the next place, the next experience. I must have slept for about 10 minutes before I woke up to find the 2 girls sitting inside the carriage. They looked friendly, so I greeted them. "Hello." "Hi," one of them responded. "You American?" I asked. "Or Canadian?" "American," the taller girl said with a knowing smile. "And you're 23. Your name's Tom Walsh, you have blue eyes, and your mom lives in Burlington, Vermont. Right?" I blinked. "How did you know all that?" The second girl chuckled. "I looked at your passport, it's in your coat pocket." I glanced down at my coat, which was resting beside me on the seat. Reaching into the pocket, I pulled out my passport and tucked it away safely in my bag. "So, who are you?" I asked. They introduced themselves, Melanie and Carol from Los Angeles. They loved traveling through Europe, they said, and had been to countless places: Britain, the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece. "I'm heading to Bulgaria now," I told them. "Going to travel around for about a month, then head south for the winter, maybe Cyprus or North Africa." "Oh yes," Carol nodded enthusiastically. "We love Bulgaria. Sofia's a great city, so full of life." "It's wonderful," Melanie agreed. "What do you do for money?" I asked. Carol flashed a sly smile. "Well, you know. Sometimes we pick up little jobs here and there. This and that." "But what about you?" Melanie prodded. "Come on, Tom Walsh with the blue eyes and the mom in Burlington, what's your story? What are you doing with your life?" I laughed and told them a little about myself. They were nice girls, older than me, maybe 27 or 28, but I liked them. We spent hours talking and laughing, sharing stories from our travels, swapping experiences, and getting lost in conversation as the train rolled on through the countryside. I told them a lot of stories about my life, some true, some not, but the girls laughed and said I was a great guy. I liked them already. They had a way of making conversation feel effortless, turning every little moment into something light-hearted. I asked them about Georgia since I didn't know much about it. They knew Atlanta well. "Hey, Carol," Melanie said suddenly. "We're staying in Richmond for a day or two, but let's go over to Atlanta this weekend and meet Tom there." "Yeah," Carol agreed. "We can meet him on Saturday night at the Hamilton Hotel." "It's a good place," Melanie added. "Affordable but nice." "What do you think, Tom?" Carol asked. "Great," I said. "Let's do that." The train was painfully slow. We finally reached Charlotte at 6 o'clock in the evening, where a lot of passengers got off. Soon, it was just the three of us left in the carriage. The guard passed by, checking our tickets, then moved along. Carol glanced at Melanie. "Hey, Mel," she said. "Why don't you and Tom go grab something at the restaurant?" "I'm not hungry. I want to sleep for an hour." "Food's expensive on the train," I admitted. "I don't have much money right now. I'm hoping to find a job in Atlanta." "Oh, Tom," Melanie said, shaking her head. "Why didn't you tell us? Look, you're a nice guy." "Right, Carol?" "Of course." Carol chimed in. "And listen, we're okay for money this week. We can buy you a meal. In Atlanta, we'll take you to the best restaurant in town," Melanie added. "It's a great place, we love it." What could I say? I was hungry. They had money. I didn't. So Melanie and I headed to the restaurant and had a meal. When we returned, Carol was still alone in the carriage. Later that night, more people boarded the train. Melanie had her feet up on the seat, and the two older men, who had just entered our carriage, glanced at them before exchanging loud remarks with each other. Carol chuckled at their reaction, and Melanie stirred, blinking her eyes open. "Are we nearly there?" she asked Carol, stretching a little before looking out the window. Yeah, about half an hour, I think, Carol replied. Why are you getting off in Richmond? I asked. What are you going to do there? Melanie smiled. Find a cheap hotel, meet people, check out the town, you know. Just for a day or two. But there's nothing, I said, raising an eyebrow. Oh well, Melanie laughed, you never know. See you in Atlanta, right? Carol reminded her. Saturday night at the Hamilton Hotel, okay. 8 o'clock. Don't forget now, Melanie added. Okay, great, I said. See you there. The train finally pulled into Richmond and came to a slow stop. The two girls gathered their bags and stepped onto the platform. They turned back and smiled at me through the window. Saturday, 8 o'clock. Melanie shouted. Okay. I called back, but with all the noise at the station, they probably didn't hear me. Still, they waved one last time, then turned and disappeared into the crowd. Nice girls, I thought to myself. I'm going to have a great time in Atlanta. The train continued its journey south, crossing into Georgia at around 2 in the morning. At some small town, I don't even remember the name, we made another stop. I pulled an apple from my bag and took a bite, staring out at the dimly lit platform. Then, suddenly, there were police officers everywhere. They moved through the train swiftly, talking amongst themselves. The passengers in my carriage immediately sat up, murmuring to each other, their voices filled with curiosity and concern. What's happening? I asked the old man beside me, switching to Italian. I don't know, the old man said in broken Italian. Maybe they are looking for someone. Look, the police are taking people off the train. I followed his gaze and saw officers escorting several passengers away. Then, 2 policemen entered our carriage, one tall and thin, the other short and stocky. Their eyes swept across everyone before landing on me. Come with us, please, the stocky officer said in English. Me? I asked, caught off guard. Why? What's the matter? And bring your bag with you, the tall one added. I hesitated, but I knew better than to ask too many questions. Policemen never liked being questioned by young men with long hair. So, I stayed quiet, grabbed my bag, and followed them out of the carriage. The station building was swarming with officers, and several people from the train were gathered there. Most of them looked young, some wore anxious expressions, others appeared utterly bored. One by one, the police searched through everyone's belongings before letting them return to the train. The 2 officers led me to a table. Your passport, please, the stocky officer said. And open your bag, added the tall one. I handed over my passport and unzipped my bag. At the next table, a young policewoman with striking red hair was inspecting someone else's belongings. She had a kind face, and when our eyes met, I gave her a slight smile. To my surprise, she smiled back. Ah, the tall policeman muttered suddenly. I turned just in time to see him dump all my clothes onto the table. My dirty shirts, my worn jeans, everything spilled out. Then, he grabbed my bag and overturned it completely. From the pile, a small packet fell out onto the table. Out of my bag tumbled packet after packet of crisp, new US dollars, $50 bills bundled neatly in thick stacks. A lot of money. My mouth fell open, and for a moment, I couldn't find my voice. Suddenly, I was the most interesting person in the room, and a swarm of officers rushed to our table, gathering behind me. $50, 000, $100, 000, $150, 000. The tall policeman counted aloud. $200,000. Well, well. What an interesting bag, Mr. Tom Walsh. I finally found my voice. But it's not my bag, I shouted. The policeman's smile widened. Well, he said, holding up the bag, it's got your name on it. Look. I stared. And sure enough, there was my name. My bag. My possessions. But how had $200,000 found its way inside? You cannot bring US dollars into this country, the stocky officer said. His grey hair was clipped short, his black eyes sharp and unyielding. He hadn't smiled once. But I didn't bring them. I protested. They're not my dollars, I've never seen them before in my life. There was chaos in the station now, voices rising, orders being shouted. I glanced out the window and saw my train, my escape, beginning to roll forward, slowly pulling away from the platform. Hey! I yelled. That's my train. The tall policeman chuckled, clearly enjoying himself. Oh no, he said, shaking his head. You're not getting back on that train. You're staying here with us in our beautiful country. He grinned, and savoring the moment. And so, I never made it to Atlanta that Saturday. I was deeply unhappy about that. I had wanted to sit down with Melanie and Carol, ask them a few questions. You're a nice guy, Tom. See you in Atlanta. Best restaurant in town, right? Their words echoed in my mind. I never got to Cyprus or North Africa that winter, either. Oh well. You live and learn. Life in prison isn't easy, but at least it's warm in the winter, and the food isn't terrible. And I've met some interesting people. There's a man from Georgia. His name was Boris. He comes from a place by the Black Sea. He's a great guy. When we get out of here, Boris and I are heading to Australia. Brisbane, maybe. Or Sydney. We'll get a job on a ship and start fresh. Yeah. Next year is going to be okay. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more heart-touching, real-life inspired tales, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. Your support means the world, and I'll see you in the next one.